VIBErations podcast, part 26, Caring Frontiers Charity. Hi, I'm Gary Brightman, and this is my bi-weekly podcast called VIBErations. Established in 2018, Vibe is a book and music shop situated in Moi Wo on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. So what's been happening over the past week? Well, we celebrated our third anniversary last Saturday with not one musical artist, but two. First up were Andy Tate and the Mutineers, who played at Vibe for our second anniversary. We were sponsored by our good friends Sol and Bess from Leader Key Wines and Spirits. And we had pizzas and food, followed by Pete Millwood playing a cool Asia dub set with Celestial. The shop was closed for this private function, which was a great success. Many thanks to all those that helped make it happen. And here's to the next 3 years for Vibe in the community. Both the gigs are available on our YouTube channel at Live at Vibe HK. Please subscribe if you wish to support us. We're continuing to clear out stock for free as part of the ongoing Vibe version 2.0 reboot. We get some nice remarks from people picking up free books from us, like, "You've made my day. Are these for free?" And, "Yes, there is a God." All DVDs are now reduced to $20 each for single DVD and Blu-ray films and $38 for multi-set DVDs. Our top 3 book sales since the last podcast have been: at number 3, Snakes of Hong Kong by Adam Francis. That reminds me, I'm running out, yet again. At number 2, Wild Creatures, Volumes 1 and 2 by Robert Ferguson. And still at number 1 for 4 straight weeks now, The Flower Boat Girl by local author Larry Fain. And so to this week's interview, which is a very worthy detour from our usual Lantau-based business interviews. This one is to support a charity called Caring Frontiers, who are collecting for refugee and underprivileged students in Myanmar. Angelica Cheng is a rising junior at Tufts University, studying electrical engineering. A high school trip in 2018 to the Thai-Myanmar border would lead to her developing a passion for working with refugees and marginalized peoples. In the following year, she began a high school project in the effort to secure access to higher education in the refugee camps on the Thai border. Eventually, the project would lead to the beginning of Caring Frontiers, a registered NGO in Hong Kong. Now, when she's not losing sleep to school, she works as the program director at Caring Frontiers. Benny Berkenkotter is a rising junior environmental science major at the University of Vermont. He has been part of Caring Frontiers since 2019, where he visited the Karen refugee camp and got to help with taking photos and videos of the students and teaching English. Now he helps with coordinating fundraising strategies to keep the schools in the refugee camps afloat. His goal with Caring Frontiers is to give the Karen education system a stable and worry-free future, so that the future generations of the Karen people also have a chance to become staples in modern-day society. Welcome to Vibe, Angelica and Benny.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
And as we do, we're going to start off with 10 questions. The first question is, what is your favourite book or author, Angelica?
Oh, that'd probably have to be Burn for Burn, which is just this young adult series that I read when I was in high school. It actually influenced where I wanted to go to college.
Okay.
And for people who knew me in high school, I wore this sweater that said Boston College every day, and it's because the main character went to Boston College, which made me want to go into the Boston area.
And for you, Benny?
Well, it's a book series called The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. I read that when I was in middle school, and it is the first and really only book series that I've ever read that wasn't somewhat academic related.
Okay.
And it's just sort of a teen novel about this group of misfit kids that are just really good and really smart, and I just really enjoyed reading it a lot.
Okay. Favourite musical artist?
Mine would have to be The Head and the Heart. They're based in Seattle and Washington, and they're an indie folk band. And yeah, I think just throughout high school, was going through a rough time, but a lot of their lyrics really resonated with me, which is why I really like the band.
Right. And they're called Head in the Heart.
The Head in the Heart. My favorite song is Rivers and Roads.
And Benny?
My favorite artist is John Bellion. He is the first artist that pretty much got me into music. His lyricism and his orchestration is always top notch to me.
Right.
I've never gotten sick of any of his music, and I just really enjoy a lot of it.
Angelica, preferred drink?
Ooh, it'd have to be the mango chizo at Haiti. Have you ever had it?
I haven't, but I love mango.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like this mango tea drink, and it has like cream cheese at the top.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good combo.
Okay, and same to you, Benny.
Mine would have to be the passion fruit green tea. It's a Taiwanese drink. I usually only get it when I'm at Taiwanese restaurants because I feel like they make it the best.
Angelica, do you have a life motto?
Something that always gets me through like really difficult days, and just as a way for me to encourage other people as well, is telling myself like I've survived 100% of my worst days.
Mine would have to be, well, I stole this sort of life motto from a climber named Caroline Chiavaldini,
Okay.
a French climber. Her motto is enjoy, 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 and remember to enjoy. Because I always love thinking about life in a positive light.
Yes.
And I always try to enjoy everything that I do. Even when I don't really enjoy it, I try to find something that I always try to like about a certain thing so I can enjoy it in any which way I can.
Do you have a favourite Hong Kong walk, Benny?
I've lived in Stanley,
Yep.
which is on the South Island, or just the southernmost point of
Yes.
Hong Kong, pretty much. 4 or 5 years, I think. I really enjoy just walking across the beach. I live right by the boardwalk, like
Yeah.
by the Stanley Market, and behind it is the Stanley Beach, and I always love to walk from just my house up until that beach.
I know.
Especially during the night when when it's usually packed with
Yes.
and no one is there.
Mine would probably have to be Pak Phu Lam. By the cyberport, there's this, when you're walking down, there's a fence, a railing, and you have to, if you climb over, there's actually this pathway to a waterfall. It's called the Waterfall Bay Park.
Ah.
It's hidden, so it's like a hidden gem. But I think the reason why I like it, it's really pretty. But I think that what draws me there the most is the backstory. But some backstory I've heard about it, which is it's actually haunted. Because there used to be
Ooh.
in the Qing Dynasty, there was like a village that was established around there.
Yes.
And then one day, a lot of pirates, they came and massacred everyone. And then
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
and people continue to cremate their loved ones and throw the ashes into the waterfall around there.
Ah.
So they say every now and then the water gets their next victim. A bit dark. But
I like it.
I like the...
I love a good pirate story, certainly, but yeah, that's quite spooky, isn't it? So would you go there at night?
I've wanted to, but I'm a bit scared. But maybe one day I'll build up the courage.
Favourite Hong Kong restaurant?
Mine would have to be the Kamwa Cafe in Mongkok. I really like getting the bolo bao with like the butter, like the thick slab of butter slabbed right in between. Especially, they also have this sandwich that they do really well using a bolo bao bun.
Okay.
And they put like pork inside, like tomato and mayonnaise and lettuce. It's so simple, but it's like the best sandwich I've ever eaten. My gosh.
Mine would have to be a local restaurant chain called Tam Jai Samgor.
Okay.
It's a local chain that just sells noodle soup.
Right.
And it's known for their spicy sort of broth, and just they put a lot of chili on everything, and I'm
Okay.
a sucker for anything that's spicy. I think my parents have told me multiple times to stop eating there because I eat there too much. I sometimes sneak in for food whenever I go home from the gym or whatever. I just get takeout and then I eat it at like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning without them knowing. And they always wake up to like empty containers just by the kitchen. They're like, do you buy anything? And I'm like, no.
You could at least have hidden them. A slightly off-the-wall question, Angelica, for you. Faced with a python whilst walking up to the peak, what would you do?
Oh gosh. I'd probably just stand there and watch the python until it starts moving towards me. But when you asked that question, the first thing that came in my mind is I really had this temptation to poke it with a stick. I feel like that's a horrible idea.
I think it's an honest answer. It's the first time anybody's answered that. But yes, go on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the other thing I've wanted to do was, I remember when I was a kid, I saw this. I didn't know what kind of snake it was, but it kind of jumped into the swimming pool in my apartment complex.
Oh, wow.
Like it started swimming, and then the first thing I did when I saw it was I threw a sausage at it.
It wasn't a dog, you know. But I suppose, yeah. Were you hoping to feed it or scare it?
I was trying to feed it.
Yes. Benny, what would you do?
First of all, I'd probably take a photo of it. I think the photographer in me would just not let a shot like that go to waste or anything like that. That, and I would just probably just observe it for like as long as I can up until it like goes away.
So you wouldn't be scared of it then?
No, not really.
No.
I don't think so. I've seen a lot of snakes.
What was the best advice you were ever given?
From my mom. It was, I can't quote it entirely because it was a couple of years ago, but it was something along the lines of, try to find something you enjoy and stick with it, even if it's not something that you should do. It taught me to do stuff that I really am passionate about. Maybe it won't take me into like a really rich life or anything like that, but if I really love doing, for me, environmental science is one of them. I know it's not a career field that has a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
But I love learning about the environment. I love taking care of the environment and stuff like that, and that's why I chose to do it. And my parents have been super supportive.
Angelica, how about you?
From a book that I read, one of my there's a few favorite quotes. I think they all tie together, if you don't mind me saying.
No, not at all. No.
One of them was, if others think your ideas are crazy, you're probably on the right track.
Good. Yeah, I like
And
that
then
one.
the other thing was, don't wait for the world to give you permission to do the things that you want to do. Give yourself that permission. Like, your skill set and your role and place in the world is not bounded by anything. Like, you get to dictate what you do, and you don't have to wait for someone to tell you to go do it. Just go and take those risks.
Do you like Hong Kong?
To be honest, I really like living in Hong Kong.
Yes.
And one day after I graduate, I'd like to come back here. I think I really love how Hong Kong is just this intersection of different cultures, people from all around the world, wonderful mix of nature and city, and being able to go between that in 15-20 minutes.
Completely agree. I mean, before I moved here, I lived in the Philippines for 11 years. That's where I grew up, and that's where I was born.
Okay.
And compared to the Philippines, this is this is such a great place to live in.
Yes.
It's so much safer, it's so much cleaner, there's so much more stuff to do. I always thought the size of Hong Kong has been perfect.
Yes.
It's small enough where like you can get to really anywhere in Hong Kong within about like an hour, like 45 minutes or something like that. But it's big enough where that every day you can do something different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived here for 9 years, and this summer I have found new places that I've never even heard of.
Yes. Yes.
And I have plans to do stuff that I've never even known about that I could do here.
Yes.
Like going to different islands or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've lived here for so long and I've never heard of them.
Do you have a favourite place in Hong Kong?
My favorite place would probably have to be Cheung Chau.
Okay.
To be honest, I think it's mostly because of the food there at the front.
The buns, is it? Or from
like the fish balls
and the
I mean, okay, locals on Cheung Chau will tell me that is not like Cheung Chau at all. That's like very touristy.
Yeah.
But I can't help them to indulge in the mango mochi or the frozen watermelons and all the other street food there. The slower like vibe of Cheung Chau, and also some of the nature there too.
Yeah.
And it's a nice place to camp and like look at stars. It's great.
And it's kind of small enough to get around, isn't it? To walk around. Benny, how about you?
Mine would have to be a place called Ha Fa Shan. It's a small area in the country park in Tuen Wan.
Okay.
Well, the country park in Tuen Wan contains a lot of different little areas. Ha Fa Shan is one of them. Lin Fa Shan is also another of them. They're like sort of next to each other.
Okay.
And I also recently started climbing last year, and I started going outdoor bouldering there. And I've gone there 2 or 3 times now, and I could definitely say that place on itself like is just such a beautiful area.
Right.
The rocks there are so nice to climb on. Just the scenery there is wonderful.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, all right then, we're done on the questions. So let's learn a little bit more about Angelica and Benny. Angelica, how long have you lived here in Hong Kong? Are you a Hong Konger?
Okay, I was born in Taiwan actually.
Okay.
But I moved here when I was 5, and I've been living here ever since, until like we went to college in 2019 when we graduated from high school here. But my family is actually originally from the Philippines, so I'm a third culture kid, I guess you could say.
Third culture, yes. Yeah. I guess that's something you have in common, is it then? Yeah.
Pretty much. We actually joined or got into our school at the same time.
Okay.
So in 5th grade, we were both new students around the 2nd semester. That's how, well, we didn't really meet till like couple years after, but we both somehow managed to get into the same school at the same time without knowing each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my parents are both from the Philippines, but my dad actually grew up in the U.S., so he's like Filipino American.
Okay.
But like ethnically, they're both Filipino.
Yeah. And Benny?
Both my parents are Filipino. They both
Yeah.
lived in the Philippines. Part of my dad's family is American, but he only spent a year of his life during around college time living there, just for
Yes.
like a gap year or something like that.
Okay.
But my mom has been living in the Philippines basically her whole life.
And in the Philippines, similar area or whereabouts each one of you?
Sort of. I lived in a city called Mandaluyong. It's
Okay.
a little bit south of Manila.
Yeah.
That's also where I went to school there. She lived
Ayala, Alabang.
in Alabang, which is that south as
That's
well?
also
That's
south.
a lot more. It's like
Okay.
an hour or two south of where I lived.
Right, okay.
But I went there a lot because a lot of my extended family lived there, so I would visit there often.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
whenever he visits the Philippines now, he stays in Las Piñas, which is like if there's no traffic, a 15-minute drive.
Wow.
But there's usually traffic, so
Yeah.
it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like our families are super close.
Very super. Yeah, yeah.
And-
Absolutely.
which is crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, the chances of that. Which university are you both going to?
I go to Tufts University, which is in Massachusetts.
Right.
So it's maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes away from Boston.
And Tufts University, so you've been there for, what, 1 year now?
Well, I've only been on campus for less than a year because of COVID.
5
so
minutes. Just go and come back.
yeah, I had to come back to Hong Kong because
Wow.
of... but yeah, we both are finishing up our second year. Actually, I did my final yesterday. My
Oh.
last final exam. So now I'm a rising junior.
And you're free.
Yeah,
You're
finally.
free of exams, I suppose. That must be a nice feeling.
It is.
So today is the first day of the rest of your life, as they say. Yeah, okay. So you're at Tufts. And Benny, what about
I
you?
am the same thing as her. I'm finishing my second year at the University of Vermont in
Okay.
Burlington, Vermont. Just kind of like in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. But that's
Yeah.
exactly what I want. I'm just
Yes.
surrounded by lush greens right by a lake. It's
Yeah.
just perfect. It's in New England, so it's very cold. It's also
Yeah.
at the northern part of New England, which is even colder than it should
Yeah,
be.
there's kind of ski resorts up in Vermont, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never gone skiing before.
Ah, right. Well, it's always the first time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how weird is that? You know, you're from the Philippines, you're based in Hong Kong, and yet you're both going to US universities, but you're back here.
Yeah.
Having to study, I guess, via Zoom and all the usual means of things.
Yep. We've got 2 more years.
2 more years.
Well, granted, we don't graduate early or anything like that.
Okay.
If we graduate on time, we got
Yeah.
2 more years.
Do you hope to get to a point that you actually physically go back to Vermont and the US?
I'm
Yeah.
planning to go back in August. I have a lease of an apartment planned or opening in August with a couple of friends that I'm rooming with which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
But I haven't been back in over a year.
Wow.
So it's just going to be kind of weird to go back on campus and see some old and familiar faces.
Yeah. it's
that I
gonna be
haven't
good.
seen behind a mask or anything like
Yeah.
that.
It's gonna be weird.
Yeah, that is weird. And how about you, Angelica? What are you?
Right now the plan is to leave end of August.
Okay.
Yeah, I also haven't been back on campus for more than a year, and I feel like I'm already starting to forget things about my campus. Like my
Yeah.
uni friends, they're talking about things. I'm like, I forgot what they're naming like buildings, and I have like no idea what they're talking about.
And which you've probably studied in
Yeah.
for a few months here and
Exactly.
there. Yeah, okay. You know, the main point of this interview is really to kind of promote the charity that you guys have set up. The charity is called
Caring Frontiers.
Caring Frontiers.
It's
Spelt with a K.
Yeah.
Yeah, spelt with a K. Caring Frontiers. All right, then let's ask the question. Why spelt with a K?
Well,
Did you learn nothing at university?
yeah, no, it's because I thought caring, like, it started with a K, so it was a
Yeah.
mistake. No. When we were in high school, we had the chance to go visit a refugee camp, and this was in my 3rd year.
Okay.
It was a Karen refugee camp. It's spelt like Karen, like the
yes. Like my sister's name, actually. Yeah.
but it's actually pronounced like Karen, so there's like a emphasis on the second syllable, and that's like so they're an umbrella group in Myanmar. It's a ethnic minority group.
Yes.
There's also they say there's like 135 ethnic minority groups in Myanmar,
Wow.
at least.
Okay.
And the Karen are one of the largest.
Yes.
And so originally when we first started Caring Frontiers, we were working primarily with a post-secondary school called the Meramo Junior College, and they are mostly Karen students.
Okay.
So
right.
the caring was kind of a play on
the K and the...
Yeah. On this trip, it was really a service learning trip where we just got to visit the refugee camp and learn about the refugee crisis in Myanmar. And all the... This was 2018, a trip led by some of my high school teachers.
Yeah.
And as a group, we got to visit the school in the refugee camp.
Okay.
We stayed there for a couple nights, and we got to meet the students, heard their dreams, their aspirations, what they want to do in the future, and it was overall a very heartwarming and inspiring trip.
Yeah.
It was great to see how empowered all the students felt. But then we learned when we got there that the school was actually going to close the next year in 2019, because the situation was that over the last 10, 15 years or so, a lot of NGOs have slowly been pulling out funding from the refugee camps to the Myanmar itself, so that they can facilitate repatriation of the refugees. Because these camps have been there for about, since the 80s. So they've been there for a long time. And now a lot of NGOs and the UN, they're trying to pressure a lot of people to return back to Myanmar. But then the thing is, a lot of the refugees don't feel like it's safe enough to return, especially right now. Everything is at its height in Myanmar, and there's airstrikes on the border right now, a lot on the ethnic borderlands in Myanmar, and there haven't been airstrikes in since the 90s. So things are crazy right now. People are especially feeling pretty terrified, scared, but at least for what we know, the schools are actually in safe areas. So thankfully the students and teachers are all good. We found out that the school was not gonna have any funding for the next year, and so what that means is it might close.
Right.
And remembering how determined so many of these students were to become agents of change in their communities and leaders, we really wanted to ensure that they had the resources and opportunities to continue going on that path. When we returned back to Hong Kong, I emailed the principal and I asked him, is there anything we can do to support you? And he said, we really need help finding. And so last year of high school, me and a few of my friends, Keisha Basu and Kazuma Leska. Hi guys, if you're listening.
Give them a shout out. They deserve it. And anybody else that needs a shout out.
Oh, okay, And since then, Benny Berkenkotter, Laura Na, Ajin Kim, April Eong, Kaylin Tai, Janice Shen.
Wow, you've got a good crew here. So there's a good 10 names there or so.
Yeah, we're a team of 9 people.
And these are all people that went on that same trip as you to Myanmar, to the refugee camp? Or?
We all went at different times.
Okay.
So I think about half of us went, and a few of them haven't. So it's amazing that that those who didn't go, they still want to help out with this cause. Even, that warms my heart. Knowing that they want to get involved, even though they didn't get the chance to see and meet the student.
Roughly how many refugees are there in the school? Any ideas?
So around 60 to 80 people, students per year, and it's 13 teaching staff.
What sort of age groups?
It's it's a higher education institution.
They're around the ages of 20 to 24-ish.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so when we visited the camp, most of the students there were 24, 23.
We're technically registered as a society in Hong Kong.
Okay.
But we don't have the Section 88 because, at least for now, the Section 88, is the tax exemptions, status of NGOs, so that you can properly get tax deductions. But what we do have is we have fiscal sponsorship now, which we actually obtained recently. It's fiscal sponsorship is basically we're borrowing another organization's tax exemption status.
Sponsoring at least one school.
Right.
This year we added 4 more schools. And so we have a total of 5 now.
Wow.
So the amount of students raised from around 70 to the 80 mark to around 534, if I'm correct.
Right.
And that drastically raised the amount of money that we needed to raise.
Right.
And because of that, we decided that we needed to up our game this year. We couldn't just email people begging for money or anything with their rich connections or anything like that. We actually needed to kind of reach out to a larger audience to grab more people that are interested in our cause and stuff like that.
Yes.
We decided to do a raffle. The raffle was actually an idea created by a friend of mine named Joe Farrell.
Okay, I know Joe.
Yeah. And she, I just mentioned to her one day while I was manning her stand at a book fair in Wan Chai, that I was a part of this NGO, and she decided, or she mentioned that she would love to donate a print or two or whatever for a cause, just so we can sell it, which I thought was amazing, because that would mean more money for us that we could put into the charity and stuff like that. And I got her in touch with Angelica, and they discussed the idea of a raffle. And because of that, we've decided to do one.
Yeah.
And because of her, too, we've gotten so many connections to a lot of people, like through you as well.
Yeah, sure.
To get a lot more prizes and more incentive for people to join. Yeah. And that's what we're doing this year, to hopefully raise the amount of money that we need to support these 5 schools now.
So the important thing, I suppose, as usual, it's all about marketing and getting the word out that you're having this raffle in Hong Kong. You know, there's 7.5 million people here. You want as many of those people to know about this raffle as possible, and to feel that they should enter it. And so what sort of prizes do you have so far? You've got the Joe Farrell prints. We're giving a couple of goodie bags, aren't we, from Vibe?
Yes. We have a couple more prints from other photographers, mainly based in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Angelica Cheng, Simon Fuller, Ali G.
Okay.
Heather Diamond.
And
some photo books.
And some photo books, right, from Romaine Gaz Jones also.
Okay.
And then we have other vouchers from
Ula?
the Ula group, which I think is a catering and restaurant service.
Yes, I've heard of Ula.
Yeah, and the Goods of Desires. And then Steve from the Hinitan plantation has given us some stuff as well.
Steve, I know Steve well. Yeah, Steve's a good friend. And then what are you doing to get the word out there then that this fabulous raffle is going, and how much do tickets cost? How do people get tickets even?
Yeah, so kind of reaching out to a larger audience is kind of what we're currently working on, and we're finding it kind of hard to do just because our audience has been kind of small, at least up until recently. We're planning on posting a lot more on our Instagram, which is at Caring Frontiers, or Caring.Frontiers, if I'm correct.
We will change it soon.
We will change it, but Caring Frontiers is our Instagram, and that's where we're going to...
So Caring Frontiers, all one word?
There's a dot right now, Caring.Frontiers.
Okay,
Yeah, and our Facebook is Caring Frontiers, and it's also on LinkedIn.
Okay, well, no, that's good. LinkedIn.
Our team is able to do social media work. So our social media team has been trying to put stuff into posters or little graphics that we can post frequently, especially now since our raffle has started, and we're going to start pushing a lot of stuff out there now. A lot of our info and stuff will be advertised through all of our social media pretty much, and then we're just planning on keep sharing it all throughout this entire campaign pretty much, and that's how we plan to take our word out. And then hopefully we're gonna ask we've asked some donors to possibly share our stuff to just even more people, to just get the word even more out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it, really? I mean, we've all got our own networks, you know. I've got one here, I'm happy to push it out. You know, I'm sure Steve Valentine, Joe Farrell, all those guys will push it out onto their networks. You've got the raffle, you've got the prizes, you've got the raffle being done mid-June, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If people want to buy tickets today, how much do they pay?
So one student is, to sponsor one student for a whole academic year, it's about 560 Hong Kong dollars. So one raffle ticket. That's not bad, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's not beyond any of our means.
Yeah, that's like 2 restaurant meals.
Yeah, 2 restaurant meals, 560 Hong Kong dollars. You can sponsor one student at one of these 5 schools for 1 year.
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic.
You'll be investing into the rebuilding the future of Myanmar and the future of these students too.
I think that's fabulous. I mean, I think that's very, very doable. I will give you 560 today for my student. I don't even need to know. I don't need to know their name. I just want to know that one student will be sorted out for 1 year. That's great. I think that's very tangible.
Of course, you can donate as much as you can, or even less than that if you can't do 560, of course.
Anything helps.
Yeah. Anything helps. Very definitely.
We were on RTHK as well the other day, last week. So if any of you guys want to listen to that, you can check out the 123 show with Noreen Murr and the archive. I think our recording is there too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's something we're going to use to also promote our cause. We're trying to get more into the press, so we're working on reaching out to a lot of news outlets here in Hong Kong as well, emailing them and asking if they can publish a press release we've written up.
Good.
So
Yes.
we'll see if that hopefully some of them get back to us.
Caring Frontiers is just on Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Website.
We have a website. It's caringfrontiers.com.
Okay. All right.
And that's
sounds
where you
good.
can donate and you can enter our raffle.
Oh, well, we already got some social media posts on our Instagram.
And we're pushing some of that stuff to Facebook today as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it so it's like easy to share.
Okay.
And we're actually also planning to start like a peer-to-peer like fundraising campaign
Okay.
on our Instagram among university students mostly.
Yeah.
So how that's going to work is we're going to have like these bingo cards that you can put on your Instagram story.
Oh.
And each slot is going to have like a challenge. So every time someone donates a certain amount and whatever challenge is in that slot, you have to do, like the person doing
nice.
the fundraiser has to do it. So
Okay.
it's a fun little way to get a lot more people involved.
Right.
And so last year we did something similar, but we didn't do the challenges. And we were able to raise almost 10,000 Hong Kong dollars on by itself.
Right.
And so, but this time we're gonna add those challenges that push us out of our comfort zone socially, breaking
So what
social
could
norms.
What could a challenge be? You know, you've got to swim across Victoria Harbour and drink half of the water. Or
Maybe. I guess it would be challenges that like push us out but not potentially kill us. That's pretty much just like thinking that.
Yes, it's important to come up with some safe ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something along the lines of like, I don't know, like wearing a banana suit to walk across Central for an entire day or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like
In the summer, nice hot.
I know, right?
Yeah, like
Wonderful
it.
idea by
Yeah,
me.
wonderful idea. Yeah. Well, it's not me. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, just
Yes.
so people can see that we can actually do stuff for this.
Nice idea.
And
actually.
it'll get a laugh.
Yeah, well,
That's
exactly.
pretty much
That's
the
what it's
goal.
about, isn't it? It's about involving people, getting a laugh, getting people loosened up a bit, and aware, really, of it.
I guess I just wanted to reiterate the importance of this cause.
Yes.
And like how our experiences in the camp pushed us to like do this, and why we're fighting for this, and why this cause should matter to everyone listening.
Yes.
Because like education, I think for us we often take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because right now it almost feels like a privilege when it should be a human right.
Yes.
And
I agree.
But education, although like it serves as a pathway to building your future and like your career and being able to financially support your family, it's like a source of purpose and dignity and stability in your life when everything is so uncertain.
Yes.
At least for these refugees.
Benny, anything to add to that?
Yeah. Just to kind of reiterate what Angelica said about the privilege that we have, especially us living here in Hong Kong, and the education that we get.
Yeah.
For us, I completely agree that some of us do take it for granted. Even I take it for granted. One of the most important things that I took out of the experience of visiting and meeting those refugees and students in the camps was just their motivation to learn and want to learn was just amazing. We got to speak to a lot of them, and their main goals in life were to go back to Karen State to save their people through education, through either being a doctor or a lawyer, or anyway, just to get their people and safe.
It's kind of for all the right reasons, isn't it, really? They've come from an underprivileged background. They've found themselves, not through any fault of their own, in this situation where they are refugees in a war zone. And the only way they can see out of it, which is important to all of us really, is this dignity that you can get from an education.
I remember one of the students, Laku, she was actually born in the refugee camp, and through the school, so she's never been to the Karen State, so she's never to the to her homeland.
Right.
But this school, the Mayramo Junior College, it gave her the opportunity to take a visit through a service trip.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in my first year in college, she called me one day and she told me that she was finally home.
Wow.
And from there, she started talking about all the ways in which she was reconnecting with her roots in the Karen State, with meeting family members she never knew she had.
Wow.
And being able to directly give back to her people. It was such what an amazing time for her to be there, to rediscover who she is, to redefine herself as more than just a refugee, find herself again
Yeah.
and find a sense of home.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think, yeah, being in the refugee camp, it's, for a lot of the refugees, they describe feeling quite hopeless at times and uncertain. And so, yeah, hearing that story from Laku, it was heartwarming to hear. We keep in touch with a lot of the students. Even after they graduate, we see a lot of, like, we're connected with them on social media, so we see a lot of what they're doing. And
That's
it's
cool.
amazing because so many of them have become such, like, amazing advocates
Yes.
for their people and for what's going on in Myanmar. Like, we see how vocal they are on social media, and actually a lot of the reason why they this is interesting because I had always wondered why a lot of the students were so fixated on learning English, because I didn't think it would be that useful on the border because it's not used often.
Yeah.
But they said that much of the world
Yes.
is operating in English.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if they want to build alliances with others to get people to be aware of what's happening in Myanmar, they have to communicate their message in English as well.
Well, that just remains for me to say, Angelica and Benny, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Gary.
yeah,
It was
thank you so much.
amazing being here.
You can sponsor a student for a whole year for just 560 Hong Kong dollars via their website at caringfrontiers.com. Caring is spelt with a K. You'll also be entered into the raffle with some great prizes. You can listen to all our podcasts published at SoundCloud under Gaz, or on YouTube under Live at VIBEHK, or following the links from my website at vibehk.com. Finally, a reminder that Vibe is open 7 days a week, every day of the year, from 12 noon until approximately 6:30 p.m. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for listening to the 26th Vibe Book and Music Shop podcast called VIBErations. I'm Gary Brightman. You get my vibe?
Can you imagine what this old island must have looked like to those Dutch sailors when they first saw it? Fresh green. Like a dream of a new world.
They must have held their breath, afraid it would disappear before they could touch it.